Until the Gulf of Tonkin Resolution in August 1964, the 4,400th Combat Crew Training Squadron provided the United States government with plausible deniability of direct US Air Force combat support for South Vietnamese forces, while also fulfilling their official role of training pilots for the growing Republic of Vietnam Air Force. The volunteer pilots of the 4,400 CCTS flew in RVNAF marked aircraft without identification and with the possibility the American government might deny all knowledge of them. This channel's mission is to challenge the Vietnam orthodoxy through reference to primary sources. Much of what you know about the Vietnam War is either incomplete or false. Please consider supporting this channel and its mission through Patreon. The link is in the description. You can also support this channel by subscribing, liking and sharing the videos, and with your comments. The 4,400th Combat Crew Training Squadron was activated at Hurlburt Field, Florida on April 14, 1961, with a strength of 124 officers and 228 enlisted men. Its logistics code, Jungle Jim, quickly became the unit's nickname. Colonel Benjamin H. King, a World War II veteran, was picked by Curtis LeMay to lead the squadron, which had the purpose of training allies on American aircraft. The squadron accepted only volunteers, and those volunteering would be informed that the temporary duty might involve combat, that they would not wear US uniforms, and that the American government might deny any association with the US, not providing them the protection normally given to American citizens. By July 1961, it was composed of 125 officers and 235 men, and was equipped with 8 Douglas B-26 Invaders, 8 North American T-28B Trojans, and 16 Douglas C-47 Skytrains, and its mission had been expanded to include combat operations in Vietnam. The Douglas B-26 Invader was a twin-engined light bomber and ground attack aircraft. The North American Aviation T-28 Trojan was a military trainer, and the Douglas C-47 Skytrain, or Dakota, was a military transport. During the summer of 1961, the squadron began training Special Forces soldiers from North Carolina, teaching them close air support, airlift, and fire support procedures, with an emphasis on night operations. In October 1961, John F. Kennedy authorized the deployment of the 4,400 CCTS to Vietnam, and a detachment from the squadron moved from Eglin Air Force Base, Florida, to Bien Hoa Air Base in South Vietnam. The deployment package included 155 men, 8 T-28s, 4 modified SC-47s, later receiving B-26s rebuilt at a repair facility in Taiwan. The Farmgate Detachment departed Hurlburt for Southeast Asia on November 5, 1961. The SC-47s flew to Clark Air Base in the Philippines, all of them arriving in Vietnam by the end of November, while the T-28s flew to California, where they were disassembled and packed onto C-124s and also flown to Clark. They were then flown from Clark to Saigon, and then 20 miles north to Bien Hoa Air Base in late December. The airmen were not impressed with the facilities at Bien Hoa. The French colonial airfield had one 5,800-foot steel plank runway, which was in constant need of repair. The squadron and its mission were codenamed Farmgate, and the air commandos were to maintain a low profile and avoid the press. Their aircraft were painted with RVNAF insignia, and the pilots wore plain flight suits with no insignia or name tags. Initial combat training began on December 19, 1961. New regulations were issued on December 26, 1961. At least one South Vietnamese national was required on board every aircraft, with the further stipulation that he would fly in the back seat. The measure was designed to provide plausible deniability of breaking the Geneva Accords, which had established the two Vietnams in 1954 if the aircraft was lost. Initially, RVNAF pilots did not require much training, but as the demand for pilots increased, experienced RVNAF pilots returned to their units, and many of their replacements were cadets, waiting for orders to flight school. All US Air Force units were reorganized under 2nd Advanced Echelon of 13th Air Force in early 1962. The 13th Air Force had been activated the previous November. The 2nd Advon Detachment commander at Bien Hoa tried to take operational control of Farmgate, which King resisted, citing the guidance LeMay had issued when he had set the unit up. However, the 2nd Advon Operations Officer stated that under their plan, Farmgate could not fly daytime combat sorties. Aware that the RVNAF had only one squadron that could perform airstrikes, and that it was not equipped for night operations, King had one of the Farmgate's SC-47s rigged to drop flares, and when a South Vietnamese outpost came under night attack, the SC-47 dropped flares and 2 T-28s struck the enemy by the light of the flares. As the tactic became a success, Communist forces would often break contact when they spotted the flares. The first Farmgate sorties were flown on January 13, 1962, and by the end of the month, 229 missions had been flown from Bien Hoa and other bases at Zanang and Pleiku. While the T-28s and B-26s performed reconnaissance, surveillance, interdiction and close air support missions, the SC-47s flew airdrop and PSYOP, leaflet and loudspeaker broadcast missions in support of US Special Forces teams working with civilian irregular defense groups. On February 11, 1962, while on a leaflet drop mission in the highlands near Bao Luc, a Farmgate SC-47 crashed, killing 6 airmen, 2 soldiers and a Vietnamese crewman, the first of several Farmgate losses. Forward operating locations were opened at Quy Nhon and Sop Chang airfield to combat increasing Viet Cong attacks in the countryside, with Farmgate crews playing an increasing role as Brigadier General Roland Henry Anthis, commander of 2nd Air Division, realised that the RVNAF could not meet the demand. Anthis also requested an additional 10 B-26s, 5 T-28s and 2 SC-47s. McNamara favoured expanding the RVNAF but agreed to the extra aircraft and also assigned 2 U-10s to Farmgate, a high-wing, low-sea-stall utility aircraft. Farmgate was disestablished on June 17, 1963 as a detachment of the Special Air Warfare Centre and activated as 1st Air Commando Squadron Composite at Bien Hoa Air Base, with Detachment 1 at Pleiku Air Base and Detachment 2 at Sop Chang. On July 8th, the squadron was assigned to 34th Tactical Group, 2nd Air Division. Between October 1961 and July 1963, 16 Farmgate pilots were killed and 1 SC-47, 4 T-28s, 1 U-10 and 4 B-26s were lost.